All right, guys, so let's carry on. And here, in our lab, what we were able to do was deploy a virtual machine inside a hypervisor, right? So let me just explain all that. And also, this is my remote computer, uh, which is right beside me. So here, um, one thing I wanted to mention to you that at the end of the lab, maybe you have the habit of shutting down the machine, right? Like this, right click and then power and this shutdown guest. But there is a suspend guest. So onwards from today, just to suspend your machines because we're going to be deploying a big um, application, actually an appliance, which is a vCenter application virtual machine. So when we deploy that, so after that, if you shut down at the end of the class, so next class when you come back and power on the machine that has the big application called vCenter, which we will install today. So when you start that, it's going to take you forever for that application. Unless if you have 32 GB RAM, then I'll tell you what to do. Otherwise, even then, it will take much time. If you have 16 total, it will take you forever to start that machine. So at the end of the class, I'll tell you today as well. Hopefully, I remember myself to tell you to suspend machine, not shut down. So when you resume from suspension, it starts right away, right? Background sources are frozen, and they you could just start resume the machine and they just start the services. It doesn't take start like when you shut down and play and power on, then it takes a lot of time to start. This is all what I said was when we deploy that a vCenter appliance, which we were going to do today. So I'm just going to resume my Win01 machine, which is okay. So I'll resume this machine. It is 2 GB RAM. But remember that we had shut down last time ESXi 1. Why? Uh, and ESXi 3. We had shut down both these two, right? So we had shut down both ESXi 1 and ESXi 3 last time because we were just installing a virtual machine in ESXi 2 hypervisor. So we had temporarily shut down ESXi 1, ESXi 3. So I found them shut down, but this ESXi 2 I just suspended because that's where we installed inside this hypervisor. We installed the virtual machine. Let's go to our diagram. What to do with that and and okay, so it's open on the right side. And yeah, so virtual client. So I'm just gonna copy the diagram here. Yeah, in MS Paint, and that's a nice mess. I mean, diagram. So here it's a Win01 machine, E6i1 hypervisor, E6i2 hypervisor, E6i3 hypervisor, and we had okay, so this is a bit ahead. Actually, we're about to go to the to create this our virtual SAN here as well. This diagram actually depicts that. So that will be upcoming. I'll just go for a much cleaner uh diagram. So I'm just looking on the right side here, and yeah, I kind of got it. Okay, so I'll just put this diagram here, much cleaner. So what we did last time was that we just deployed one virtual machine here. So it was not two virtual machines, but I was also explaining the concepts here that you got by default when you deploy a hypervisor. like ESXi 7 hypervisor or 6, whichever. So the virtual machine, so the hypervisor, this is a physical machine, right? This whole thing is a physical machine, supposed to be a physical machine, right? So the virtual standard switch gets installed automatically. The physical disk gets formatted with VMFS file system, VMware file system, and it is partitioned, and that partition is called data store one by default. And you can deploy a virtual machine if it has been formatted with VMFS file system and the partition or data store has been created here. Then you can deploy a virtual machine. Virtual machine can see a physical storage when it has been formatted with VMFS file system and data store has been created on top of it. Virtual machine can connect to virtual switch. One point here that we need to understand a little more is that a virtual machine, so suppose you've installed a totally new hypervisor, right, in a physical server in production environment in your company, suppose. So you installed a hypervisor just now, and it has two physical network cards, right? Now, the virtual machine, when you are about to create, it cannot see a virtual it cannot see a physical network card. It virtual machine cannot see or connect to a physical network card. Virtual machine cannot see or connect to a virtual standard switch, but it has to connect to some kind of networking, right? To get the networking uh, uh, to connect to the network, right? So what happens is, and I'll just put it down here as rules of thumb that I put before as well for some rule of thumb for um, storage and network, and that is a VM cannot see a physical storage unless it unless the physical disk is formatted with VMFS, VMware file system, and data store as a partition is created on top of that. So it is created uh, on top of it. Also, a VM cannot connect directly to a physical network card or NIC, right? Um, also, it VM cannot connect to a virtual standard switch. It in order to in order to connect to a virtual switch, the VM connects to port group, which is part of which is a component of a virtual switch, right? Which is a component of virtual switch. So if we go back to now in English, if we talk about this, then it's just that each virtual switch gets created automatically when you install a hypervisor, right? But the virtual switch actually has two main components to it, which we will be discussing in detail when later as well when we are talking about virtual switches, right? So one component of that is port group that gets created, and oh yeah, so one component is the port group, and the other one other one is VM kernel port. Which kernel? It's a VM kernel, right? Right kernel. Oh, okay. What's wrong? Yeah. So VM kernel port or VM kernel adapter. So these two components gets created automatically when a virtual standard switch gets created automatically, and a virtual standard switch gets created automatically when you install a hypervisor for the first time, right? So port group, the only purpose of port group is uh, to connect VMs to vSwitch, virtual switch, right? So that's the only purpose of a port group. The purpose of a port group is to connect VMs to virtual switch. And the purpose of a VM kernel port is to offer networking to advanced features like vMotion, vSAN, etc., 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 right? So, and many others. So advanced features like vMotion and other features as well. But the thing is that VM kernel port offers networking to advanced features like vMotion, vSAN. There are many others, and we're going to be doing labs on those as well, obviously. So what we need to understand is that the virtual standard switch has port groups. So virtual machine actually connects to the virtual standard switch, but it's the component of the virtual standard switch called port group that they actually see. Virtual machines cannot see a virtual standard switch directly. I'm going to show that obviously. And virtual machines cannot see a physical network card directly. They can see only port group of a virtual standard switch. And that's what they connect to. We're going to be spending a lot of time on virtual standard switch, and we're going to explore all the features of virtual standard switch. But this is what we need to understand, that virtual machines connect to port group of a virtual standard switch to connect to the network ultimately, right? Okay, that's one thing. And other thing is what we did last time, and what's next. So I'll just quickly for this now. Last time what we did was let's explore the virtual machine storage networking sections of hypervisor. So let me just go back here and show that yes, we have a Windows machine here that is started. I'm just going to log in here, small ABC, capital ABC, shift 123 without shift 123. And then this is a Windows machine. We have one machine off, one machine. I'm gonna so it has 12 GB. If I just give you the RAM of all the machines, so this machine has 2 GB RAM, right? It should stay on 2 GB. For 16, those who have total 16 GB RAM later, you will have to, or very soon, you will have to even turn this machine into 1 GB because you have very less RAM, right? Uh, uh, so, but right now it's 2 GB RAM here. This is 4 GB RAM. This is 12 GB RAM, E6i2. E6i3, 4 GB. So 4, 12, 4. And the other fours are actually shut down. That's why it was not being used. Otherwise, you will, those who have 16 GB RAM laptops, your laptops will go too slow if these two hypervisors were started. So these two are shut down, and this hypervisor is up because we deployed a virtual machine inside it. But now, what to do next? So for that, so this is 2 GB RAM here, and so it will remain here 4 GB RAM, right? But what we did last time was 12 GB RAM here, and why we put 12 GB to this whole hypervisor? Because we had to give the virtual machine inside, I think 10 GB RAM, right? So that needs to change first. Now I wanted to just show you how to install a virtual machine. We did that. And and you would remember that how we had to upload the ISO there, and then the virtual machine could see the ISO when it was in the data store available, right? Now, the thing is that we need to go ahead and install actually the vCenter, which is a huge application, big application. Now, in order to do that, so what's the plan here? The plan is, first of all, to install deploy uh, you know an appliance. So we deploy VCSA. If I say VCSA, oh, what is VCSA? So VCSA is vCenter server appliance. Okay, what is that? So that's the central application that controls the whole VMware environment. Again, the word centrally. So this vCenter, it comes with a very expensive license for the companies. So small companies having 2 or 3 hypervisors, they don't even bother to purchase vCenter, but medium to large size companies with 10,000 users, 5,000, 10,000 users up to 100,000 users. And they have, if they have big VMware environment, obviously, then they have to have vCenter server clients, an application through which you can control the whole environment, right? So this whole course revolves around that, and the certification also is about vCenter features. Uh, so what the plan is to deploy the virtual machine from this Windows machine remotely into ESXi1. So why ESXi1? Because this machine we had spared from the start, and we had planned to deploy the VIP virtual machine, as I say to it. This is the most important virtual machine, obviously, the VCSA, and that virtual machine will help us. It has a lot of advanced features which we need to understand and implement. So through this, we will connect to hypervisors, and we will centrally control the virtual machines. We will centrally control the switches. We will centrally control the networking. We will centrally control the storage. We can control networking, storage, virtual machines of all hypervisors. We have just 2 hypervisors for testing purpose, but in big environments, you will see here hundreds of those hypervisors. So this alone, one application deployed inside a virtual machine called vCenter. Through this, we control a very big environment as well. So, okay. So our plan is that we will be deploying our virtual machine inside this hypervisor, and that virtual machine is called VCSA. VCSA is vCenter Server Appliance. Why? What is appliance? Appliance is a virtual machine that has an application already deployed inside it, and you just have to customize it for your company requirement. So this is an appliance that we are about to deploy inside Hypervisor 1. So why not Hypervisor 2 or 3? Well, because we put those 2 hypervisors for experimentation purpose. Like we're going to be, suppose we're going to be going for vMotion feature, which means migration of virtual machine from one hypervisor to another, and back as well, back and forth migration. So we're going to check this. If then there is fault tolerance, and for that we will have a partner virtual machine here and a virtual machine here, and then the active virtual machine, suppose here, and passive here. So we're going to crash this hypervisor that has the active fault tolerant virtual machine or primary virtual machine. We want to see that does the services fail over to the secondary, which is still on a hypervisor that is powered on, right? So in order to do those testing and experimentation, we cannot possibly do that kind of testing on this machine through which we are controlling the whole environment. The vMotion feature the fault tolerance feature, everything is provided by this application that is living inside this virtual machine. So this hypervisor needs to be always up all the time. So we could remotely connect to the vCenter living inside this virtual machine. And through this vCenter, we can control the whole environment and offer advanced features of disaster recovery and business continuity, right? So that's why uh, we need to deploy the VCSA on this first machine. But VCSA is a big application. We know that, and you're gonna know now. Uh, and in order to deploy it, obviously it has some hardware requirements. Yeah. So what are the hardware requirements? First of all, we need to make available all RAM that we could to this physical server. And for the duration of the deployment of this virtual machine, the vCenter, for the duration of deployment of this, we're going to shut down temporarily these two hypervisors because these are going to be used for experimentation. And this hypervisor needs to be powerful for today or for the duration of this vCenter. So what's the plan? Plan is that let's power on only. So I have powered on this Win01. Let's not power on temporarily this one. Let's not power on temporarily this one, ESXi 1 and 3. Let's power on ESXi 2. Why? Because we need to lower the RAM of the virtual machine that we deployed last time. We're going to give it, excuse me, from 10 GB to 1 GB. Those who have 32 GB RAM, you can still give it like 4 GB if you want. But those with 16 GB RAM, you have to give it 1 GB RAM here. Every virtual machine other than this vCenter, every virtual machine that we create in future will be given only 1 GB RAM. Why? Because we need all the RAM we could arrange, right? So those who have 32 GB RAM, you can give 2 GB RAM to all the future virtual machines because you will still run out of RAM even if you have maximum of 32 GB RAM later when we add even more features, right? So what's the plan now? Now let's just start 12 GB RAM E6i 2 remotely connect to ESXi2 to this virtual machine, lower its RAM to 1 GB, then shut down this hypervisor and lower its RAM also to 4 GB because it was supposed to be 4. Just for the deployment of that one virtual machine, we had to increase the RAM just to make the whole process faster. Now we don't need that kind of RAM here. So now the plan is keep the first machine started, and it should be started all the time during for the duration of the whole class throughout the course. Um, so this is started. I'm only going to start this machine now, remotely connect to it, lower the RAM of this machine, which has Windows now. And we don't need to really start it, just lower the RAM and keep it shut down, this machine, virtual machine. Then we're going to shut down this hypervisor and change its RAM as well, right? So I'm going to do that now. And I will go here and I'm here. So first of all, this Windows machine is powered on already. And here, I'm just going to power on this guy. Uh, I'm not changing its RAM now because there's a virtual machine inside that is also 10 GB. We need to lower the RAM of that virtual machine. So we're just creating the environment for the deployment of a heavy application called the vCenter. And all the advanced features are there inside the vCenter. Also, one more thing. Okay, let me just go to the, yeah, so that was a lab. And our lab now is to let's lower the RAM of ESXi02 to the VM and the hypervisor itself as well. Second thing is we need to give 9 more, total 10 NICs, network interface cards, to both ESXi02 and ESXi03. Oh, what is this? So we're going to give, excuse me, these two guys. We're going to give these two guys. So after we're done with the RAM thing, and before we start preparing this for the second hypervisor or the first hypervisor for VCSA, we need to do one more thing, and that is uh, let's add 9 more NICs, network interface cards, to both 2 and 3, right? Why? Because I need to show you how to deploy, suppose vMotion, how to deploy vMotion with its 2 dedicated network cards. So the more network cards we have, just to show the vendor best practices for deployment of advanced features like vMotion, fault tolerance, fault tolerant vSAN, right? So we can deploy the advanced features with just 2 network cards as well, and the advanced features traffic will also use the 2 poor network cards, or we can pretend that our company has a big budget and we can afford to have even 10 network cards per physical server or 12 network cards per physical servers. And when we deploy a new advanced feature, we're going to give 2 dedicated network cards for each advanced feature. And as I was giving an example, suppose we deploy here vMotion, right? So for vMotion, wow, why am I routing with my mouse when I can write on the screen? Okay, with finger. Okay, so vMotion here, and suppose we deploy that vMotion here. So it has to be configured on both hypervisors, and we can actually give it 2 separate network cards because vMotion creates its own set of traffic, its own volume of traffic. And if there were more network cards, then I can show you what is the vendor best practice for dedicating 2 separate network cards for vMotion feature, then FT fault tolerance feature, then vSAN, then all other features as well. So that's why in order to learn how to deploy advanced features with vendor best practices, we're going to be adding 9 more network cards to ESXi2 now. Well, after we lower the RAM, and 9 more network cards to ESXi3, making both a total of 10 network cards here and 10 network cards here. Because one is already there, 9 more we're going to add here, right? So that's another task after we lower the RAM. So first task, let's lower the RAM of the machine here. So ESXi2 is already powered on with 12 GB RAM. Inside the machine has 10 GB. We're going to lower that RAM. In order to do that, we need to remotely connect from Windows machine to ESXi2. So I'm just going to go to the Windows, and yeah, it locked me out again. We don't need DHCP. Okay, I just need to remotely connect to that. So I'm just going to go to the Chrome. Oh. Yeah, it's E6i2 is all tab is already open inside Chrome. So I'm going to go to the username, which is root, and the password, small ABC, capital C, shape 123, dot shape 123, enter. Oh, it says refresh your browser. Okay. So whenever we resume the virtual machine, then it says that refresh the browser because it was in a frozen state before. And advanced, proceed to ESXi2. Again, root, and then small ABC, capital ABC, shift 123, dot shift 123. Now we're in. So from the Windows machine, we're remotely connected to ESXi2 now, this one. And there's that virtual machine that we had. Now, because I suspended last time in the class when I was shutting down, I actually not shut down this machine. I suspended that at that time, right? Not now, at that time. So that's why I found the machine to be still started. If I had shut down this, if I had used this option instead of this, and my suggestion again, not suggestion, but you should do that. That from now on, from today, only suspend virtual machines also, right? But if I had shut down this like this, then this machine would have been shut down as well. Right now it is started. So I don't want it started. So I'm just going to shut down the virtual machine first. So I can do power off from here. When I click that virtual machine, I can power off from here. Yes. Okay, it's powered off, right? And I do not want it to have, uh, well, it shows nearly 8 GB RAM. So I just want it to have 1 GB RAM. And we need to desperately have as much RAM as possible, right? So how do I change the RAM of this virtual machine? So there's an edit button here, this one, or if you can right click here and go to edit settings, it's the same thing. Edit settings or edit here, right? It's the same thing. Edit settings, and there's the memory. And yeah, okay, so it's not 10, it was 8, but anyway, I'm putting it down to 1 GB, 1 GB. Okay, so it's 1 GB RAM, right? And we,
So,
yep.
so the edit option is from the right click of this VM1 or edit
So
settings. I mean.
yeah, there's only one, yeah, VM01. So you want to
Okay.
know how to go to the edit?
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Okay, so if you selected the VM1,
Mhm.
did you power it off already?
Yes, yes, because it's showing power on option, so I think it's powered off. Yeah.
Yeah, then do you see edit?
Yes, yes, yes.
Okay, click the edit.
Okay.
And then just go for 1 GB if it is written GB here, or 1024 MB. It's the same thing. So make sure it's just 1 GB here, 1024 MB. That's it. And click save.
1 GB.
Yeah, 1
Mm,
GB. If it's written GB there, 1 GB.
mhm.
Do it done?
It's eight GB.
Yeah, so change it to
One.
1 GB. Yeah.
Okay.
Okay, save it. That's it. So now we do not need this hypervisor powered on because we changed its RAM, its virtual machine's RAM to 1 GB. We're gonna now change the RAM of the hypervisor back to 4. In order to do that, we need to shut it down because if it is powered on, you cannot change the RAM. So you have to shut down ESXi 2 hypervisor now in order to change its RAM from 12 GB to 4 GB, right? So I'm gonna right click here, go to power, and there is the shutdown guest, right? All right. When we click shutdown guest, it shut down. Okay, so my ESXi 2 hypervisor is now shut down. I can change its RAM back to 4 GB as well, right? Change its RAM back to this 4 GB. All right, that was one task. Lower the RAM was the one task. It is done. Now keep these three guys, these three hypervisors shut down because we need to do the other task, and that is to add 9 more network cards to ESXi2 and 9 more network cards to ESXi3. So let's do that because we could do that when we are about to deploy a virtual machine, when we are about to deploy an advanced feature. oh, let's add a network card and then deploy the advanced feature. But then for deployment of every advanced feature, you have to first restart the hypervisor because network cards do not get detected while the hypervisor is on. You have to restart. So that's why we're adding all now while it is shut down, or we can just do one restart if it was powered on, right? So I'm going to add 8 more network cards here, 9 more, sorry, network cards, making it a total of 10 network cards. How do I do that? I'm going to right click Iscsi 2. So we do not need 9 network cards in Iscsi 1. We do not need 9 network cards in Windows, just the Iscsi 2 and 3, right? Okay, right click on Iscsi 2 and go to settings. Excuse me. I have only one network card here, right? So 9 more are coming. How? So I'm going to click the add at the bottom to add the network card, right? And we will have to keep them all to VMware 15 because they have to be on the same network to receive traffic, right? So I'm just going to click add and then network interrupter. That's the 4th one, right? And finito. Also make sure it's not on NAT, otherwise it will not communicate with this guy here. So they all have to be on whatever the first network card is on VMware 15. So select that and custom. Here it is, right? VMnet 15. Yay. If you click anywhere else, now it is on VMnet 15. So we're just going to do that 8 more time now because that was the 9th one and the 10th one is already there. So I'm going to do that 8 more times on Iscsi 2. So and custom 15, then custom 15, then 5th, adapter, finish, custom 15, 6th, adapter, finish, custom 15, 6th. Okay, I lost count. Seriously. 2, 3, 4, 5. Yeah, 7th. 7th, adapter, finish, custom, 15, 8th, adapter, finish, custom, 15, 9th, to finish, custom, 15, and 10th. After finish, custom, 15. See, so much fun here. We could just do it throughout till 10 o'clock, right? And let's add 100 more. Just kidding. Okay. So I'll just count that here. 2, 3, 7, 8, 10, 9. Okay. Do the same here. Yay! So much fun. Not right click settings. I'm gonna go to Iscsi 3 and I'm gonna add 9 more network adapters here as well, the same way. Add network adapter. That's 2 network adapter. Finish custom 15, 3 adapter. Finish custom 15. Network adapter. Finish custom 15. 5 finish custom 15. 6 custom 15. 7 network adapter. Finish 8 custom 9 finish custom 15. Okay, so 2, 3, 7, 8, 9, 10. All right. So these 2 tasks are done. Lower the RAM and then add 9 more network adapters to only ESXi 2 and 3. There, well, it's these two tasks are there. Then the third task would be let's increase the RAM of ESXi01 from 4 GB to whatever maximum we can give, right? So our Windows machine has 2 GB RAM, and what's left is 14 GB RAM for a total of whoever has 16 GB laptop. So 2 GB is already taken, 14 left. 2 GB we need to give to the laptop as well for it to breathe. So 12 GB left. So we can give this machine ESXi2 12 GB RAM, and the vCenter will get obviously 10 GB RAM then. So we're really neck to neck here. If you have 32 GB laptop, then right now you can give, for the duration of the vCenter deployment, those who have 32 GB RAM, you can give 16 GB RAM. No, sorry, 24 GB RAM to ESXi2. Those who have 32 GB RAM total, they can give this virtual machine 24 GB RAM or even 28 GB RAM. And then the vCenter, you will get to give like 24 GB RAM. If you have given this machine 28 GB RAM, you still have 4 GB left out of 32, right? So then the vCenter gets 24 GB RAM for those who have 32 GB RAM, right? Now for 16 GB RAM, I've written it down. For 32 GB RAM, guys, I have just told you what to do. Okay, and let's increase the RAM of ESXi1 from 4 GB to 12 GB RAM. Other thing is, for the duration of the deployment of VCSA virtual machine inside ESXi02 hypervisor, we will keep ESXi. Whoa, did I say ESXi2? Sorry. On ESXi, because we're deploying that on ESXi1, right? The ESXi1 is the VIP machine hypervisor. So for the duration of the deployment of VCSA virtual machine inside ESXi1 hypervisor, we will keep ESXi02 and ESXi03 hypervisors temporarily shut down. So do not start ESXi2 and ESXi3 hypervisors now, and we'll keep them shut down until we have fully deployed the vCenter virtual machine inside ESXi1 hypervisor. So if I go back to the diagram, well, so so now keep it shut down. So keep ESXi2 shut down and keep ESXi3 shut down, right? And so these two guys will be there, right? So we have already given temporarily, now it's 12 GB RAM to this guy. If you have 16 GB RAM total, then 12 GB to this hypervisor, and the machine that will get deployed now, the most important machine of this course, the virtual machine, the vCenter or the VCSA, this will be having 10 GB RAM inside, right? So later we have to increase the RAM for certain lab of these two hypervisors. So even these guys may be reduced to even lesser RAM. So anyway, although I have 32 GB RAM, but I'll pretend that I have 16 GB RAM, and I'll just go for giving this E601 hypervisor 12 GB RAM now. So let's give it 12 GB RAM while it is shut down. So we're going to keep E6i2 and 3 shut down. E6i1 We're going to change its RAM temporarily. Actually, that's for the duration of the course now, because this machine, this hypervisor will contain the most important machine called VCSA that controls centrally the whole environment of VMware, right? So I'm going to change the memory of this machine to 12 GB. Well, where's 12? Okay, so you can just type here 12416 as well directly, or 12 here. So select anywhere. So now it's 12.1 GB, which is good, right? So once it is upgraded to 12 GB, I'm just going to press OK. So this machine 2 GB, this machine 12 GB, and 13, 14. Hey, what am I doing? Why am I leaving 4 GB for this laptop? Seriously, what's wrong with my calculation? Maybe it's the tea that is staring at me and I haven't had a sip of it. Actually, I had just two, right? So what we I ended up doing here is, if I give 12 GB here and 2, 12, 13, 14, and 15, 16, yeah, it's okay. So those two steps were useful. Sorry. Sorry. We're good. We're good. Okay. So 12 plus 2, 14, and total 16, plus 2, total 16, right? So we're good. We're good. We're good. Okay. Now this machine has 12 GB. Let's power it on, because we're about to deploy in this is in this hypervisor, the VCSA, right? So I'm just gonna, after making it 12 GB, uh, we're gonna power it on. All right. Let me then write down, while it is powering on, let me write down the next plan, and that is a bit longer, and brace for a long installation, and also brace for errors. And if during the installation, long installation of vCenter, you get an error, you have to repeat that. And I'll tell you what exactly to do at that time if you had to repeat the vCenter deployment. Last course, last batch, uh, two or three students, somehow their laptops, I don't know what was wrong with their new laptops. Obviously, it could be different hardware or something that vCenter was not liking at all. So uh, they were getting very strange error that did not really point to the hardware, obviously, but they were not able to deploy a vCenter in their laptops. And those are just normal new laptops that anyone else would purchase. They were good. Somehow they keep getting errors, and that was so, and one more thing, please be prepared to reinstall the whole environment. I mean, if I ask you, hey, we have troubleshooted this, troubleshooted that, it's better to reinstall the whole environment. Just delete all the 4 machines and reinstall. So it's okay. One student in last batch, she just started blaming me and other students. Hey, what will you do? So she was really stuck. She was total beginner, and she didn't want to repeat the whole environment, reinstall of the whole environment, although it's a very, very good practice. Sometimes I had to redeploy the whole environment from start 2 times in a course. But when you redeploy the whole environment another time, one more time, it's only your good practice. I mean, you become better and better in that. But if you run away from hard work, obviously you will, not really learn. So it will just be a time pass here in this course. If you're not willing to reinstall the whole environment from scratch again at the middle of the course, although you don't have to do that, but very few students had to do that. And fewer of those few students actually were so dedicated, they installed it even 2 or 3 times more, and they became really good. So when you face the interview, you know many of the steps of the deployment, right? But if you've done once and you don't want to do it again, good luck with learning, right? Okay, anyway, so even if you don't get any error, I would suggest just reinstall the whole environment again at once the course finishes, redo the whole lab from the start till the end again, right? The more you do, the better you're in interview, the less you do, good luck with the interview, right? Okay, so next steps, deploying VCSA, which is vCenter Server Appliance. So here, once the 12 GB RAM has been given to ESXi01, then power it on. Okay. Now, before deployment, so prereqs, what are the prerequisites? Before deployment of VCSA, make sure we have minimum 4 450 GB storage, and minimum 10 GB RAM, and minimum of like 10 GB RAM, and minimum of 2 processors, 2 CPUs. So second thing is we need to have in place software vSAN with disk sizes of we can give any size, right? Because it is dynamic disk, so we can give even 600 GB. It's dynamically expanding, right? It is also called thin provisioned. So it's okay to give 800 GB, 2 terabyte, 10 terabyte, 1 exabyte, because it does not take that space on the disk until you deploy some application, and it only takes that much space as the application wants, right? So whatever size you give here is okay. So we're just gonna have, we need to have in place software vSAN with disk sizes of 600 GB. I'm gonna explain now the software vSAN in diagram. What are we planning before we deploy the VCSA? Need to have in place software vSAN with this. How many disks we need? We will deploy minimum of 3 disks, 600 GB each. Okay, why 3? Well, we can have 2 as well. We can have 12 as well. We can have any number here. 3 is just it's a it's good. I don't know why. You can have 2. Anyway, 3, right? Here we're gonna have vSAN. Now let me explain in diagram now. Why do we want that? And maybe I'll get another clear one. So prereq 1 was that you need to have 2 CPUs. So actually all 3 hypervisors have 2 CPUs. Well, we're going to solve here. So this hypervisor has 2 CPUs, does it? I think so. Yeah, I'm on first hypervisor and it has 2 processors, 2 core, right? Okay, so first is good. Second was that storage comes from this vSAN, right? We're going to be deploying it over the vSAN, this VCSA, not on the local disk. I'm about to explain the whole thing now. But other than that, Siri says, sir, is this session getting recorded? Oh, man, you scared me to death. Uh, yeah, it's recording. Whew. Okay. Well, okay. So here, but thanks for a reminder. So here, do we have 10 GB RAM? Yes, we just increased it to 12 GB. So yes, we have enough RAM. Okay. So some of the minimums, the processor and RAM, they're good for the VCSA prerequisites, but the storage. Now, the best practice for any virtual machine to be deployed is to deploy it on a SAN, not on a local disk. So this is a local disk here, right? Local disk, local disk. And the problem with the local disk is if you deploy a virtual machine VCSA here, and now obviously its virtual disk need to be stored somewhere. So suppose you deploy it on a local disk, which is totally not recommended. So what happens is Now this is VM, right? So this is VM. This is virtual disk of that VM, vdisk, right? And so obviously, if this whole hypervisor goes down, shuts down for any reason, or crashes, so this it takes down this virtual machine with it, right? Now the second scenario is, so I'm just gonna remove this as well. If the virtual, if we deploy a SAN here, so first of all, how does a SAN look like in production environments? A SAN looks like this in a production environment, rows and rows of disks, right? Disks after disks after disks after disks, right? Long rows of disks and pretty expensive as well. Okay, and what happens is that you provide the disk over a fiber optic wire and fiber optic equipment. You provide in production environments with companies with big budgets I'm talking about. So you provide this one disk called one or logical unit number, and that one disk is provided to we have total 3 hypervisors, right? So provide to all the hypervisors one disk. Then the second disk is provided to all hypervisors. So that same disk gets connected to hypervisor 1, same disk to 2, same disk to third hypervisor, and the second disk, same second disk to hypervisor 1, same to 2, same to 3, right? And so on. What's the logic with that? Why would you want to provide same one disk to all hypervisors or whichever hypervisor you want to take part with certain advanced features like vMotion? So what happens is, now suppose we have 3 disks deployed here and they're connected to all 3 hypervisors. And that's exactly what we're going to do now as well. So these 3 disks that we're going to be deploying, but in production environment, it could be 200 disks, it could be 500, it could be 1,000 disks. The more money they put, the more disks they have, the more towers they have where the disks are, right? Okay. So suppose you have those disks provided here. If it was a production environment and it was a big company with fiber optic, disks, then actually there's with fiber optic there comes the equipment as well. Let me just show you the pictures first of all of so fiber. I'm just writing on the browser in the on the other screen, fiber optic, which if I just show you and images and just on the other screen, I'll quickly. Well, first of all, the cables you must have seen already, the fiber optic cables. So if I put that here, so that's how the fiber optic cables look like. And their speed is enormous. They are enormously expensive as well. So let me just, and the other thing is, yeah, what I wanted to show you was the switches that you need to really be arranging for fiber optic. So those switches are, they look like this. So the fiber optic cables connected through the fiber optic switches to the SAN solution here, and the other part of that cable connects to, let me just put that SAN, then I'll show you the fiber optic network cards that needs to be attached to the physical servers here, to which the fiber optic cables ultimately connect. So the whole equipment, you can actually guess now as well that it's pretty expensive because of what kind of equipment is needed, and it offers you huge speed, less collisions on the network for data, and pretty long distances as well are covered as well. So obviously we cannot have that in our lab. We're going to have the virtual side of it, but if it was fiber optic switch, and if it was physical environment, then how does it look like? Network cards, fiber optic. I just wanted to show you one last thing, and that is the network cards. Right. I'm just looking for a clear, yeah, there it is. So the network card looks like this. Now, these network cards are connected to the physical servers on top of which or inside which the so these network cards are actually these. We are pretending these physical NICs. They look like this, right? And there are fiber optic, ports here. So the cables connect from here to the switch. That switch is also expensive, or number of switches that the companies would have. And from that switch, it goes to the SAN solution, and hence the powerful, real good speed network is provided to the VMware virtual machines, right? So these are that's the equipment. We also call it fabric or fiber optic equipment. But these are uh, in big environments, you will see these available. But those environments that cannot really afford that, so if I start removing this, oh, Control Z does not, oh, it does, okay. Well, that's how they're connected. But then I was giving you the logic of what's the benefit of even providing SAN here. I may have, at the start of the class, may have explained that as well. But what happens is if you have virtual disks, these are called logical unit numbers, or one. Okay, so logical numbers, right? So these LUNs or disks that are shared over the network, when they are mapped to hypervisor 1, hypervisor 2, hypervisor 3, so the benefits are that once you deploy a virtual machine, you do not deploy its virtual machines files and virtual disks on a local physical disk-based data store. You deploy it on the over the network shared disks or LUNs based data store. So you're gonna, when you deploy that or map that disk that is actually living here, this is the physical disk and it is mapped over the network here. So you're still going to create a data store on top of that as well, obviously. Otherwise, the virtual machine won't be able to see this as well. So data store 1, data store 2, we're going to be doing all this. Data store 3, right? So now when you deploy a virtual machine and yeah, so the virtual machine, virtual disk will be here, right? Virtual disk will be here. So suppose you deploy another virtual machine or third virtual machine or a fourth virtual machine, and those virtual machines are here as well, and here as well, and here as well, right? So they will all be sharing with, on these LANs. Some virtual machines disk will be on this, and some virtual machines virtual disk will be on the second LAN data store, LAN-based data store, third, and other virtual machines will have here. What's the benefit? Again, the benefit is that if the hypervisor crashes, if any of the hypervisor crashes, so the virtual machine's most important thing is virtual disk, because that's where the company's data is, right? And that data needs to be always available. So when the hypervisor goes down, the virtual disk of the virtual machine was never on the local disk of the hypervisor. So it was always over the network here, right? So the virtual machine was only using the RAM of this physical server. So yes, the virtual machine will be also it will also shut down, but it's virtual machines, all files were actually on a disk that is shared over the network. So because this LUN is connected to hypervisor 1, it is also same LUN is connected to hypervisor 2, which means that from this LUN we can access the virtual machine files and we can power it on top of the RAM of this hypervisor as well, because the same LUN where the virtual disk was is attached to hypervisor 1, which shut down, which crashed, right? And the same one is also connected to Iscsi 2 and 3 as well. So this virtual machine could be started right away on Iscsi 2 or Iscsi 3 as well, because it's the same one, right? So that's the first benefit of having the same shared disk over the network mapped to hypervisor 1, 2, 3, up to hypervisor 100 or hypervisor 200, right? So that the virtual machines critical files will always be on a disk that is available over the network to other hypervisors as well, right? That's one thing. Second thing is, if the virtual machine wants to, so there's a virtual disk here of a virtual machine, right? And this virtual machine needs to vMotion. The other thing is vMotion, right? So the benefit of virtual SAN is that if suppose this hypervisor is performing really bad, and and you decide that, hey, this hypervisor has more CPU and RAM, while this hypervisor has very less CPU and RAM. So why don't I migrate this virtual machine from this hypervisor to this hypervisor? Okay, I want to do it fast. I do not want it to shut down the virtual machine, because the users who are connected on this virtual machine right now, they're saying, hey, we are opening files and it's unacceptably slow. We are saving something here on this virtual machine. It is unacceptably slow. So you decide that, okay, what if I want to migrate this virtual machine and I don't want to shut down and migrate? I want to migrate this virtual machine while the users are connected, while the virtual machine is powered on. I want to migrate it from one hypervisor to another in the LAN, right? So yes, I can do that if I don't have to move the heavy virtual disk. A virtual disk could be 100 GB, right? It could be 200 GB. Maybe the data is so much here. It could be 300 GB, right? It could be 1 TB even. If we have to vMotion or migrate the virtual disk from from one hypervisor to another, or one data store to another data store, or one LAN to another LAN, it will take all night or few hours at least, because it's heavy. So how about I only move the virtual machine memory content? So virtual machine is loaded on the memory of this hypervisor, and it's very small information of the virtual machine that is loaded on the hypervisor RAM. So if only virtual machine memory content moves from one hypervisor to another, it's going to be really fast. And the virtual disk does not travel at all during migration. Why? Because it is on a LAN. This LAN is attached to this hypervisor, but the same LAN is attached to this hypervisor as well. So the virtual machine that was able to access its virtual disk from this hypervisor to the LAN, when the virtual machine reaches here, it can still access its virtual disk from this hypervisor to the LAN, because that same LAN is attached to this hypervisor and same LAN is attached to this hypervisor. So if the virtual machine only moves, which is a very small data, and it moves real fast, so fast that the users don't even know that the machine they are connected to is actually moved, has migrated. Well, they see a few seconds of, well, they click, it's the whole application is frozen, or whatever document was open is frozen for a few seconds, and then it starts working, but it starts working real fast because now it's getting the CPU and RAM of this hypervisor, right? So the thing is that virtual SAN is so important for many, many other reasons, but I've given you two main reasons here, that you can still have the critical files of virtual machines on the LANs here, or the shared disks over the network. And these virtual machine files, if this physical server goes down, the virtual machine can be started from this hypervisor as well, because this hypervisor can also access the same LAN that the crashed hypervisor was accessing, right? So those files could be started on this hypervisor from this one to this hypervisor, right? That's one thing. Second thing is virtual machines can move because it's a very small data from the RAM of one hypervisor to another, while the virtual disk does not have to move because it's on LUN that is accessible from this hypervisor, and it's that LUN is also accessible from this hypervisor. And it could be this same LUN could be accessible from 200 hypervisors even in big environments, right? So this means you can migrate the virtual machine to any of the 200 hypervisors, whichever has more CPU and RAM right now, right? At that time. So that's why virtual SAN, none of the virtual environments can survive without a SAN. There's a vSAN, that's another concept, but that concept we will be discussing when the vSAN feature is discussed. That's one of the advanced features of vCenter. But right now, this is how SAN works, and the virtual environments totally depend on SAN for their high availability and disaster recovery. So these are the benefits of what we were talking about here for virtual SAN. Now we're going to have to create a virtual SAN as a prerequisite for the deployment of vCenter. So how to do that, I'll show you now. Okay, so the plan is I'll have to get yet another clean diagram in order to fulfill the prerequisites of deploying a VCSA. So the plan oh, that's much more cleaner. Okay, I'll copy that so I can copy this one later to make available a cleaner diagram. Okay, so the plan here is that we're gonna deploy vSAN. That's a plan first. Oh, well, that's the diagram. That's the deploy vSAN, right? How do we deploy that? We're going to add 3 extra. So first of all, this first machine will also be used as our vSAN, right? So it's already being used for our infrastructure services like DNS, DHCP, Active Directory. Now we're going to also use it for our vSAN. So we're going to deploy 3 disks that will be 600 GB each. Why 600? Well, it could be 500, could be, but 450 GB is requirement of storage requirement of vCenter, but here we're just going to go for 600 because we can give it because it's thin provisioning, so it doesn't take any size on your physical disk on your laptop. So we're going to deploy 3 disks here. We're going to also deploy here a feature that is here, and it locks me out again. So there's okay, if you want to avoid this lockout, there's a thing here. I'm gonna go to right click here and power options, right? I don't want it to lock out when I'm not connected to this machine for more than 10 minutes or 5 minutes. If it's idle time, its machine is idle for 5 or 10 minutes, it locks out, right? So how to remove that? So I'm going here, right click and power options. So it says 10 minutes, right? Idle timeout. So I don't want it. So I'm just going to go way down to never, ever, ever, ever. So now it should not log out. Anyway, so what I was saying, that there's this Iscsi feature. So we will deploy Iscsi feature here, right? What does it do? So remember that I was saying that you need to deploy fiber optic equipment here in order to make the vSAN work. So suppose your company does not have enough budget and cannot afford to have fiber optic equipment. It's just too expensive, right? So then the alternate is Iscsi. Iscsi protocol, with the help of that, you can even create this same SAN environment on Ethernet-based cables instead of fiber optic. With the Iscsi protocol, let me just show you those as well. The Ethernet cables that are in the companies and in the colleges and everywhere. So I'm just gonna go for copy. So that's the Ethernet cable, right? So Ethernet cable that you connect to your in your home. Maybe you have those Ethernet cables as well that you connect to your DSL router, right? So that is if your company does not want to deploy more expensive. Whoa, what is this? Okay. All right, there you go. So that's the Ethernet cable that you use. So if your company just cannot afford to have the fiber optic cables, then your company can use the iSCSI protocol and then use it over the Ethernet network. Uh, Obviously, the speed will be slower than the other fiber optic, but yes, you can still provide over the network, features with the help of, or SAN features with a slower network, which is the Ethernet network, right? So. Okay, so we're going to deploy, because we're not deploying the fiber optic, we're going to be going for iSCSI protocol. How to deploy that protocol? We're going to check it out. And I'm just putting those pictures for future use as well. Okay, so here, so our plan is we're going to deploy iSCSI feature here, and we're going to first deploy these three disks here one by one in Windows machine. We're going to format them with NTFS partition, because this is a Windows machine, so they will be formatted with NTFS. Then we're going to convert each disk to an iSCSI disk. When we convert each disk to Iscsi's disk, then we are able to map these disks over the network to each hypervisor. So again, when we use this feature to convert these disks from Windows disks to Iscsi disk, as soon as they get converted to Iscsi disk, we are able to offer these disks over the network to any of the virtual machine as LANs. So these disks will be available as LANs to our hypervisors, right? So that's the main idea behind it. So that's what we're going to do now. And although I said that um, for the duration of the vCenter deployment, we're going to keep these E6i 2 and 3 shut down. Yes, that still stands. But right now, we need to provide these disks to the all three hypervisors, and we need to check if all three hypervisors can access the three ones, the iSCSI disk over the network. So in order to do that, we need to actually power on these two hypervisors as well. And before that, I forgot to mention that, we need to do this on the other two hypervisors as well. Although we can do this on only one hypervisor, but later it's not going to be that, it's going to be more trickier to further add these 3 disks to the 2 hypervisors. So when we are deploying this to one hypervisor, it's a better thing to do to deploy it on the other 2 hypervisors at the same time and confirm that the 3 disks over the network or LANs are accessible from all 3 hypervisors, right? So it's better to do that. So then there's a little change in the plan now. We need to power on these 2 machines, but how? If you have 16 GB RAM and if this has 12 GB RAM and these guys have 4 so 12 is already powered on. But if these 4 are powered on, it will just overcommit on those laptops which have 16 GB total RAM, right? So the thing is, those who have 32 GB RAM, you're good. You can just power on. Those who have 16 GB RAM, uh, we will be shutting down this laptop. Did I say laptop? We'll be shutting down this ESXi 1 hypervisor. We're going to change its RAM to, well, 4 or whichever, 6. 4 is okay. And then we're going to power it on because we want all 3 up, because we are configuring the vSAN to all 3 hypervisors, right? Once this is done and we confirm that the LUNs or the shared disk over the network are accessible from all 3 hypervisors, then we're going to go back to the same plan before deploying VCSA. We're going to shut down these 2 hypervisors and we're going to put it back to 12 GB. So that plan still exists, but for vSAN, we have to, deviate from that plan. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to first shut down this E6i one, change the RAM for 4 GB. Only those who are having total of 16 GB RAM can follow me now. Those with 32 GB, you can just power on because you still have a lot of RAM. Or if you have given, remember, I told you the 32 GB guys that put this on 28 GB RAM. If you have done that, then you have to shut down as well and put it to 20 instead of 24, because other two you need to start as well, right? 4 GB. So just make sure that the total RAM of the 3 hypervisors are less than 32 GB. 32 minus 2, so less than 30 GB. 2 GB for breathing space for the laptop as well, right? So with those who have 32, you should be thinking you have actually 30 GB, right? And those who have 16 GB, you actually should think you have 14 GB, because 2 GB should be given to the laptop as well. Although 16 GB will be very soon overcommitting and we will have to take that risk. Okay, so those who are 32 GB total, you can just go down to what, 24 here and 44 here, GB RAM, right? And then power on 16 GB. We're going to just put it down to 4. So I'm just going to shut it down, change it to 4 and power on. And then we're going to first deploy this vSAN and power on these 2 as well. And all 3 or 4. Yeah.
Is it okay to keep the EXI 101 to 12 GB as we did right now if we have more than 16 GB the total RAM space? Is it okay to keep it as 12 and power on the other two as 4 GB? Is it okay?
Yeah, if you have total of 32 GB or any RAM that is more available than the collection of this, yes, yeah, you're okay then. So if you have 32, then yes, it's okay.
Okay, and we are keeping the Windows Win01 as 1 GB RAM, right? So that is there.
Uh, what is your total RAM of your laptop?
It's 40 GB, but we are
40?
keeping the Windows 01 RAM as 1 GB RAM, the
14.
first one.
Yeah, your total RAM is 14.
No, 4040.
Oh, that's too much, man. What are you doing with the extra RAM? You can distribute it among other students. Just kidding. Okay. So, well, you don't have to, you have 40 GB RAM. So you can keep it 2 GB here. And yeah, you don't have to change anything here. So if it is 12, keep it 12. And 4 just start the machines.
Because we changed this Windows VM as 1 GB. So should I put it back to 2 GB?
Whenever you have time, yes.
Okay. All right. Thank you, sir.
Well, since we are doing it now, do it now because it's better 2 GB here. You have enough RAM.
Okay, sir.
Cool.
Okay.
Right. So I'm just gonna, so those who are following now, I'm just gonna shut down this. So a little deviation here, but I'll just, while this is shutting down, I'll quickly put that, the steps here as well. Once the 12 GB RAM has been given, okay, before deployment. So yeah, this rule still stands. I mean, that procedure when we are ready to deploy VCSA for a total of 16 GB RAM laptops, right? Make sure we have minimum 450, blah, 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 blah. We need to have space. And also, temporarily, let's put the RAM to 4 GB for ESXi 0100203 for those laptops which have a total of 16 GB RAM. Okay, I think I have to write it down. If you have 32 GB RAM laptop, then you know, you don't have to change anything. Don't have to change anything. So guys, you can also do some maths. Those who have 32 GB laptop, that what I'm saying changing is only for 16 GB laptop, because there are a few students who have 16 GB RAM laptop as well, right? If you have 32 or 40 GB, then whatever RAM you can give is better, and just keep it under 40 GB if you have 40 GB, or keep it under 32 GB if you have 32 GB. So you can do some maths of your own as well. Okay. Uh, so let us go ahead. This is the plan here. Temporarily, let's give 4 GB. So I'm just going to do that now. It's 12 GB. Temporarily, I'm changing it back to 4 GB because I need to first deploy um, vSAN, not vSAN, but virtual SAN application, which is virtual is V. Yeah. Okay. So 4 GB. Temporarily putting it 4 GB, right? I hop Jim Hopper. So from Stranger Things. Wow, amazing, right? Okay. Anyway, so I hope it's not confusing. So 4 GB E6i1, 4 GB E6i2, 4 GB E6i3. Why? We need to deploy virtual SAN first. Now there's a vSAN upcoming after a few classes. That vSAN is different from this. So I can say this one as software SAN, right? Because vSAN is a bit different concept for those companies who cannot afford expensive SAN. So this is software SAN. Okay, 4 GB, 4 GB, 4 GB, done. Power on. And I should do a correction in that diagram, because when later I explain that advanced feature called vSAN, so you might get confused. Hey, didn't we deploy vSAN? No, we deployed a software. Oh, yeah, it cannot be. Oh, serious? What's that? I changed the type. So this is software SAN. vSAN is still an upcoming feature for companies with low budget, right? Software SAN. So this is the alternative for the very expensive SAN solution. But vSAN is totally different thing, which you will know when we are doing that. And vSAN is one lab that those with 16 GB laptops, you won't be able to do that because it requires, we will require one extra machine here with a specific RAM requirement of 6 GB. So that will go way more than 16 GB. Okay, that one lab only it will be difficult. Only more RAM laptop holders will be able to do that. Okay, so according to our plan, Now we should have 4 GB RAM here, right? 4 GB here, 4 GB and 4 GB. Okay. Now, if that is done, because we're deploying the software SAN, and all three need to be powered on, so I'm just going to power on E6i2. I'm going to power on E6i3 as well, because the three Iscsi disks need to be confirmed if they're mapped to all three hypervisors. It could be two as well, it could be five as well, these Iscsi disks, up to us. So for no particular reason, I'm going for three. So I'm going to power on ESXi2, which is 4 GB. ESXi3, I'm powering on, which is 4 GB. So 2 GB Windows machine, 4 GB E6i1, 4 GB E6i2, and 4 GB E6i3, right? 442, 444. So we're good. And E6i1 is up with 4 GB, 2 and 3 are powering on as well. So according to our plan now, three hypervisors are up. They all have 4 GB RAM done. Okay, let's go to Win01 and add three disks one by one, 600 GB each, right? Okay, let's add three disks first. Then we're going to add this feature, Iscsi feature there. And then we're going to convert, with the help of Iscsi feature, we're going to convert these disks from NTFS based disk to Iscsi disk. Iscsi disk 1, Iscsi disk 2, Iscsi disk 2. As soon as they are converted to Iscsi, we will be able to share them over the network to the three hypervisors, each of them to the three hypervisors, right? So next step is, let's go to Win01 and add three disks, 600 GB each. Okay, I'll be writing a lot more here, so that's why I'm not copying this diagram here, but I will soon be doing that. All right. So I'm just going to go back here, and in the Windows environment, which has logged me out again. So what happened to the power 10-minute feature? Seriously, logged me again. How dare it? Okay. Here, once we are logged in, actually adding the three disks is an outside thing. Still, I just logged in. So on Win01, let's add the three disks, 600 GB each. How? I'm going to right click on Win01 like Z's. I'm going to go to settings, right? And then I have only one disk here, serious NVMe. Okay, that thing. You know, I think before we had that issue that if you want to add NVMe disks, then you have to shut down this machine to add the three disks. So later, if the machine is powered on and you add the three disks, you won't see them. Windows will not detect them unless you shut down the machine and do that, right? So what I'm going to do is, let's not face the issue and then do it. Let's just do it now. Do what? We're going to shut down Win01. We're going to add the three disks, 600 GB each. And then we're going to put them as NVMe, all three disks. And then we're going to power it on, because NVMe, you cannot select while the operating system or the virtual machine is on. NVMe, you can select only when the machine is off, right? And without NVMe, it won't let you add three disks. So I'm going to shut down this machine now, add the three disks as NVMe disks, and then power it on, right? So power only this Win01, right? And shut down guest. All right. Okay. So I'm going to add three disks one by one, and they have to be NVMe. So I think all of you have new laptops, and all new laptops require that. So I'm going to go for edit virtual machine settings, and I'm going to add three disks one by one, So I'm going to go down to add. It is already selected with hard disk, right? Already selected with hard disk. Next. And yeah, it's already on NVMe, but when you're powered on, it's grayed out and it's normally on Iscsi. Okay, anyway, so we're good now. NVMe, next. Create new virtual disk is okay. No change on this page. Next. Here 60. No, we need 600. So 600. Right? That's it on this page. No other change, just 600 and click next. No change on this page. This is the outside name of this disk file on your laptop. So no change on this and finish. So guys, when you are able, when you have, added the other two disks as well, we're going to have a screenshot here. Screenshot number 1, 3 Iscsi, 3 disks added for software SAN. Anyway, I'll tell you at that time as well. So I'm adding the second disk, add hard disk, next NVMe, next create a new virtual disk, next 600, next, and no change on this, right? Finish. Add again, right? Hard disk, next NVMe, next create virtual disk, next 600, right? Next, no change here. Finish. So guys, here screenshot comes now. So take a screenshot of this screen area, and it will do screenshot number 1, 3 disks added for software SAN. So I'll take a sample screenshot now. Three disks added for software SAN. So screenshot. Screenshot number 1. 3 disks added as software SAN. Right? So I hope you got your screenshot. I'll take a screenshot of a screenshot. All right, I will share it on the class screenshot 1. Right, hopefully you're all added screenshots to the board. It's mucho importante if you want any numbers, marks. Okay, so that's screenshot number 1, and let's keep going. Right, so 3 disks added, 600 GB each. Obviously, your name would be coming here in your screenshot, and I'm going to press ONK. Right? Okay, now we can power on this machine, which is also just 2 GB RAM. It's okay. Power on. Okay, locking in. Well, these disks better be showing now. Okay, so we're gonna go to the tools. So once the disks have been added, and we need to format it, right? Format the three disks. How do we do that? We go to the top right here, tools, and you must see this computer management because we need to go to disk management. We need to go to disk management. So computer management here, this one in tools, right? Click that and then go to disk management. Now, when you have done that, you should be getting this pop-up here. If you didn't, then let me know. If you got this pop-up, you're good. Because sometimes you have to right-click and click online to put the disks online, and then this comes. But if it pops up right away, it's okay. So I'm just going to press. So there's MBR, master boot record, and GPT quit partition table. So master boot record supports just few partitions and smaller partitions. GPT supports bigger partitions. Master boot record supports not more than 2 TB disks, and GPT supports up to uh, you know uh, I think 64 TB disks. So GPT is okay. Even by mistake, if you have selected MBR, it's okay. It doesn't really matter in our scenario. Okay. So GPT is there. I'm just gonna press OK now. And okay, here, disk one, disk two, disk three, and so we see here unallocated, 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 right? So I'm gonna go to the unallocated area. I'm gonna select it so it shows these lines here. If it shows these lines, you have to right click on top of this. Right click like a Z's on top of these lines, just right click. And we're gonna just go for new simple volume, right? We can go for, so we're gonna separately format them as 3 separate independent disks. So new simple volume here. Yep.
Sorry, my system was loading. How did we get to the computer manager to add the disks?
So you're logged in?
Yes.
Yeah. Okay. So then you go to, if you have server manager, you go to tools and you go to
Okay.
computer management.
Okay.
And
This is
once you go to computer management, so click on disk management like this, and there should
just
be
a
a pop-up.
second. Sorry.
Yeah, sure. No problem.
Yeah. Okay. So computer, because it was like small, I couldn't find the tools. Okay.
Oh,
Computer management.
okay.
Yeah.
My bad. You got the computer management,
Yeah.
this one, right?
Yes, I clicked on it. Yes.
Okay, cool. And then we should be seeing this.
Yes, I have this window.
Okay, so you got, then you have to click here, disk management.
Hmm. Okay. Yes, they're all clicked. The three
So
disks.
there's a pop-up. Okay, good. So just press OK.
Yeah, so they're all there now. Okay, thank you so much.
Yeah. Okay, so here on the disk one, so if you select it, the lines will come. If the lines come, then right click on the lines here and click new simple volume. So once you click the new simple volume, then next. And then, well, it is the, 600 GB, so it's okay. We're gonna just take all the sides here. and next. So no change here as well. It's the E drive given, drive letter E has been given to it, which is okay. Next. Only volume label, we're gonna put here 1, 1. The rest is okay. Just the volume label is 1, 1, and perform a quick format is okay. We don't want to compress, so it's all, everything else is okay. Just change the volume label and click next and finish. And finish, right? Okay, so the first disk is formatted, disk 1 here, because disk 0 is where our operating system is. We're not going to touch that. So disk 2, we're going to go to disk 2, and we're going to do exactly the same thing. And disk 3, we're going to do exactly the same thing. So I'm just going to select disk 2 now, and the lines are coming now. I'm going to right click on it and click new simple volume. So we're formatting all 3 disks to NTFS or Windows partitioned disks. But then later we're going to convert it to Iscsi disks to be shared over the network. So it's the same step now for this two. Next, yes, we're going to use the whole thing, whole space there. So next, and F drive here, next, and 1, 2, next, and finish. And then we're going to go for right click again, use simple volume, right? Next. Yep, it's 600 GB as well. Next. It's G drive now. Next. And then it is 1, 3. Okay. And perform a quick format is okay. And next. And finito. So now we have 3 disks which are formatted and usable in Windows environment, but we will go further now. We're going to change them to Iscsi disks one by one, and we're going to talk about some new terminology here as well. So I'm gonna go and we don't need this computer management anymore, so we're gonna close this here. And how to add Iscsi. So if you're back to Server Manager now, then we go to File and Storage Services inside Server Manager. So let's click that File and Storage Services, this one. And then we see here Iscsi, the second last. Okay, so on the right side of Iscsi, you see here to install Iscsi Target server, start and add roles and features wizard. So we're going to install a feature called Iscsi. Okay, as ever says on the chat, I need to enable this features because I don't see it. Okay, you don't see it at all. Okay, so guys, let's go back. Although if you've clicked it, just cancel it. And let's go back here, right? This one, local server. Let's go back here, local server, right? Oh, sorry. Yeah, local server. Ah, dashboard. Seriously, what's wrong with me? Dashboard, dashboard, dashboard. And then let's add the Iscsi feature from here. Add rows and features, because one student or maybe more than one may not be able to see that Iscsi here. If you don't see Iscsi here, then follow steps here. Now, sorry, dashboard, dashboard, dashboard. So let's click add roles and features in dashboard. And if you're here in the dashboard and you've clicked Add Roles and Features, then click Next. And here, roles and role-based or feature-based installation is okay. No change here. And click Next. Yes, it's okay. The name of the machine. Click Next. And here you see file and storage services, 2 of 12 installed, this one, right? On the roles window. So let's expand that file and storage services, this one, expand it. And then further expand file and Iscsi services, further expand file and Iscsi services. Now, if you go down, there's that Iscsi Target server, you have to select it. Right? Once you select, it looks like this, and that's all you need to select on roles. If you've selected just Iscsi Target server, then we can click next, 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 finish. That's all we need to select here, right? So I'm going to click next and nothing here. Next. And that's it. We don't need that. Restart restriction. So install. So it's install and link. Okay, it's 8 o'clock. So half time, I guess. Break time. So let's let it install and let's take a break. So class starts at 8 to 20. Okay. Let's resume. Yeah. So if we go back to
Excuse me, sir.
yeah. Yeah.
Sir, in that EXI 02, we have installed one virtual machine and that we have given it as 1 GB RAM, right?
Yeah, Win01 for now it's 2 GB.
No. The EXI2, we installed a virtual machine in that, right? EXI2.
Time 1 it will be installed. Yeah. Right. So oh, it's still locking me out. So I'm going to log in now. Now this Iscsi feature we were installing and we're going to use it now to convert the 3 disks to Iscsi disks. So we're going to install this Iscsi feature, and then we're going to convert each disk one by one, and then we're going to confirm that these 3 disks are showing on all the 3 hypervisors. I don't think we will have enough time to install vCenter today because, well, this is a long prerequisite, so maybe the next class we'll be deploying the whole vCenter then, I guess. But let's check it out. If we could, because then it's going to take much longer time than 10 o'clock. Okay, so I'm going to go inside this and the feature is installed. I'm going to close that. Let's close that. And then let's convert each disk to Iscsi disk. And how do we do that? So we're going to we're already in the server manager and we're going to go to file and storage services, right? Once we go to file and storage services and click it, then we see the second last option as Iscsi. So we're going to click the Iscsi option. Now in Iscsi option, it's saying because the Iscsi feature is installed now, so it's saying to create an Iscsi virtual disk, start the new Iscsi virtual disk wizard. So we're going to click this, and one by one, we're going to convert each disk to Iscsi disk. So let's click this option. And this window should be showing. So guys, here you should be very careful, right? Okay. So first thing is which disk to convert to Iscsi. Obviously, we're not going to touch the C drive that has our operating system. So we're going to go for E drive here, 600 GB, E drive, and we're going to click next. And once we click the E drive and click next, then we're going to just type the name of the disk. So it will be LON1, right? LON1, and click next. And then it's saying that, hey, you want to use the whole of 600 GB or you want to use part of the 600 GB? So we want the whole 600 GB. So we're going to keep it like that. And dynamically expanding is actually, Microsoft calls it dynamically expanding, and what VMware calls as thin provisioning, right? So thin provision or dynamically expand. So dynamic expanding is okay, and we're gonna put the whole size here, 600. We have to put it here. We have to type it here, and no other change other than typing 600 here on this page and click next. Now here it says new Iscsi target. So what is Iscsi target, and what are the initiators, right? So let's go back to the diagram here, and Iscsi target. Iscsi target, the device that offers the disk over the network, right? So Iscsi Target is that device that offers storage over the network or offer disks over the network, right? And initiators, that is about to come in next page, on next page. Initiators, right? So initiators are the machines requesting disks over the network, right? So remember, Iscsi Target, the device that offers, Iscsi Target offers the disk or offer the storage over the network, and initiators requests the disks over the network. So in our case, which machines are going to be the target? Iscsi Target, and which machines here will be initiators. So Iscsi Target is this machine, and the requesters who are requesting, obviously all the hypervisors are requesting the disks over the network. So this would be initiator, right? Whichever device requests the disk over the network. So this is Iscsi Target, and these are the initiators. So initiators IP address or name has to be defined here. We're going to carefully give that as well. But now we know that what is Iscsi Target initiators and which machines are playing which role here, right? Okay, I'm going to go back here. And new Iscsi Target. Now this machine is Iscsi Target because it's offering the disks over the network. So I'm just going to click next. And it says that you want to name the Iscsi Target. And yeah, we could just name it anything. Iscsi Target 1, or, you know, if it's branch, there are multiple branches, you can name it Toronto Iscsi Target 1 or company Iscsi Target, or whatever name you want to give, right? Iscsi Target 1, and then we're going to click next. Oh, this was a target name contains one or more characters that are not valid. You want a target name to be okay. So no spaces are accepted. So it says that hey, it's offering the hyphens to be put there. So I'm just saying yes. Okay, put hyphens yourself. Thank you. Otherwise, you can just reduce the space or put hyphens like this. Iscsi dash target dash one. All right. So let's click next. Okay, guys, this is the place where you have to be very, very careful, very careful, because we're going to tell the target who are the initiators, right? Which machines are the initiators. So we need to tell it either the IP address of the initiators or the hypervisors or the name of the hypervisor. So we're going to go for IP address of the hypervisors, and you have to put the correct IP address. If the IP address is wrong, obviously this whole operation will not work. So I'm just going to click add here to tell the target which hypervisors are going to request this disk. And how do I tell that? You can see down here, if I drop down, there's IQN number of the target, which is the storage name, or IQN address, we can say, storage address of the target, or the hypervisors, or DNS name of the hypervisors, like your first name, E6I01, your first name 6I02, IP address or MAC address of the network card of the hypervisor. So we're going to go for the easiest one, which is IP address. So select the IP address here, and then you have to be very, very careful here. If you put the wrong IP address, any one number is wrong, it's not going to work for you, and then there's a troubleshooting. So 192.168.200.1 is the first machine. Is it? If I go to E6A1 here, this one, and see the this console here, so you can see 192.168.200.1, right? So make sure we're good because we're gonna write the IP address of all three. So I'm just gonna press OK here, and it says IP address and the correct IP of hypervisor one, because hypervisor one is gonna request this disk over the network. So then I'm gonna add the IP address of the other two hypervisors one by one as well. Add, and just go to, instead of IQ, and make sure you select the IP address and then put the correct IP address 192.168.200.2. Oh, is that the one? So I'm going to go to that console again, 192.168.200.2 for E6I2. Okay, right? IP address 200.2. Press O and K. And let me do the same thing for the third one. I'll just visit the third one right away. E6I3, 192.168.200.3. Okay. So it's not IQN, it's the third one, IP address, right? And 192.168.200.3. All right. So just check your IP address. No, not check. This is a screenshot. So let's go for second screenshot here. And that's initiator, screenshot number 2, initiator IP address. The name of the screenshot 2 is initiator IP address. I'm going to take that screenshot now, and then I will know who made a mistake here. If I hope nobody does. And make sure these numbers are all in caps. Don't go for lowercase, right? Okay. Ha, ha, ha. Yeah, so screenshot. So screenshot 2 is initiator IP address. IP addresses or IP address, up to you. Right, so I'll put that in tab. All right. Yeah. All right. So, oh, I hope you have downloaded the VCSA, but looks like we won't have enough time for that today. It's a pretty long installation, unless you want to sit till 12 or 1 o'clock at night. Oh, just kidding. So we're okay, guys. So if this has been placed here, then I'm going to click next. So the next screen is enable authentication, and it says enable chat, which is challenge handshake authentication protocol chat and reverse chat. So this is used as an extra security. We're already inside our LAN, right? Local area network, or within the parameters of our own network, and it is protected by firewall. So we're good. Now, this is just a second layer of the authentication. The password, username, password that we put here, when you're about to connect the disks to the initiators, then these username passwords are asked. And they travel over the network as a clear text. They're not encrypted. In some more stricter environments, they put that username password here. We don't need to put that because they're kind of annoying as well. They keep popping up as well sometimes. You put the correct username password, but it still is not correct. So anyway, I'm just gonna go. So we're not gonna fill this up, and we're going to click next. All right, so this is a summary. We're good, and let's click the create. Now one disk E, has been converted to an Iscsi disk. Second thing is that we also created Iscsi target. We gave a name to this Iscsi target. Iscsi target offers storage over the network, right? So the second and third disk, or suppose you had 200 disks here, all the other disks can go under that Iscsi target name called Iscsi target 1, right? So you want to add more disks to this Iscsi target, you can keep on adding later more disks to the Iscsi target. So whichever initiators connect to this Iscsi target named Iscsi target 1, they will get all the disks that the Iscsi target has. We're going to offer only 3 disks, but later you want to add 20 more disks, suppose, to the same Iscsi target. So whichever initiator is connected to this Iscsi target will get all those extra 20 disks that you later add, suppose you do. They will all get it too, right? So I'm going to click close here, and we're back to Iscsi and Iscsi virtual disks, where one disk, which is E drive, has been converted to a Iscsi disk under the Iscsi target name called Iscsi target 1. Now I'm going to go for the second and third disk as well. We're going to offer those disks over the network as well. Okay, Kausar in chat says, sir, it's almost 2 a.m. where I'm now. Oh, okay. I will log off and watch the recording. Okay, sure. No problemo. All right. So, yeah. So let's convert the second and third disk to Iscsi disks as well, right? So how do we do that? On this white area anywhere, right click. So right click on this white area here, like Z's. And then you click Z's, new Iscsi virtual disk, right? So once you click this new Iscsi virtual disk, then the same wizard starts again, but this time we are selecting F drive. The only good thing is now that we don't have to create the Iscsi target again. It's just going to be added to the same Iscsi target that we created in the previous wizard. So I'm going to put F drive. I'll click that and click next. And it's LON2. We're just giving names here. We click next. We're using the whole of this 600 GB space. Next. Now, see this existing Iscsi target or new one. So we don't need to create a new one. Suppose you have 200 disks, suppose in under this Iscsi target 1, and you have 20 more faster disks, or maybe much bigger disks, but they are available for some specific machines in your environment. So you can create a new Iscsi in that case as well, if those disks have to be specific for some special applications that are deployed on the initiators. So then you can create a new Iscsi target, suppose Iscsi target 2, and maybe add, suppose there are 20 disks there, and they're all very big and very fast, while these are for the general applications there. The Iscsi target 2, suppose maybe for specific, very high demand applications only. So you can create different Iscsi targets for different purposes. We're gonna just simply click keep this existing Iscsi target. So the second disk will be also available for these 3 initiators. That's a good thing. We don't need to define again all 3 initiators for all the disks. We just keep adding disks to this Iscsi target now, right? So I'm going to click next without changing anything on this page. Next, and there's the second disk added to the same Iscsi target, and click 3 and 8 and close. Then we're going to go for the third disk exactly the same way. So I'm going to right click anywhere here and click new Iscsi virtual disk, and this time we're selecting the drive G and click next. It's going to be LAN 3. Next, we're going to use the whole of 600 GB. Next, we're going to add it to the existing Iscsi target. So no change on this page. Next, and that's it, 3 and 8. And close. Right? I hope your IP addresses are okay and they are not lowercase as well. They're uppercase. So if that's the case, cool. Okay, then let's go ahead. We need to go, and now we need to connect to each hypervisor one by one, and we need to connect the initiators. These 3 guys are initiators who are requesting the disk over the network. We're going to connect these, configure these initiators to request the disk from the Iscsi target. So let's go to the initiator number 1, then the 2, then the 3, right? And confirm that these physics can be seen. These 3 disks can be seen from the initiator side as well. So I'm going to, well, we're still here. So we're going to stay here on the first machine, and we need to connect to the initiators. How do we connect? We will open the Google Chrome to connect to the first initiator, first hypervisor, right? So we're going to, where's the Google Chrome? So I'm just going to minimize this server manager. There's the Google Chrome. When I open now, I'm going to pin it to the taskbar here. I'm going to double click this now, Google Chrome. And here, I'm going to right click here and pin to taskbar. Right? All right. So I'll just go for, yeah, it's the default browser. I'll click takes me there. Okay, just select when you click default. If you want to do that, then you will just select that and you're good. Close. I'll put the name of the hypervisor, which is if I go for ESXi02, yeah, it shows me the cached or locally saved name, your first name, ESXi02. I'm just gonna select that. Oh, why am I going for 2? I need to go to 1, right? Then 2, then 3, right? So I'm just gonna change the 2 to 2 to 1, right? Let's go to 1, and yeah, it's fishing now. Okay, that's not good. ESXi01. Got it? No? Okay. Your first name, ESXi01. Yeah, there it is. and advanced and proceed. All right, so first log in to E6501, click root and the password, small ABC, capital ABC, shift 123 dot shift 123. Okay, here, virtual machine, and in the, why am I going to virtual machine? Because I need to go to storage, because it's going to be initiators who are going to connect to the Iscsi target. So first, inside the E6i1, we click storage, and then we go to adapters. And then you see here a familiar name, software Iscsi. So Iscsi protocol has to be enabled in the hypervisor so they could request over the network those Iscsi disks that are living inside Win01. So we are remotely connected now to E6i1, and there, storage adapters, and let's click software Iscsi. Right? And once it is open, then you have to click enabled. Right? So once you enable, then you have to go way down to add dynamic target. So there's add static target here, add port binding here as well. Port binding is used for with VM kernel NIC or network interface card. VM kernel NIC is used when there is VM kernel NIC is used uh, to offer networking to advanced features. So we're not using that. Second thing is add static target. It is used for when you have multiple targets there. We have only one, right? So we're going to go down to the add dynamic target, because this hypervisor needs to request all three disks from the Iscsi target living in Win01 machine. So I'm going to click add dynamic target, and then I have to tell the IP address or the DNS name of that machine. So the IP address of this machine is 192.168.200.10, right? Because if you go here, go to networking and go to network and sharing center and go to Ethernet 0 and details. So yeah, there you go. So 200.10 IP, right? Okay, so 192, we're telling ESXi1 that the machine that has this offering the disks over the network with Iscsi protocol, its IP address is 192.168.200. and 200.10, and the port is 3260. If there's a firewall, then you have to enable add that port there. So 210, that's it. Save configuration. That's all. Make sure it is 192.168 and not 193.169, right? Let's click Save Configuration. All right, so we need to rescan and we need to refresh. Lots of re's here, right? Rescan, refresh, refresh, rescan, rescan. Let's keep doing that till 10 o'clock. Okay, anyway, so now we need to check if we see devices that start with MSFT or Microsoft, right? I'm going to go to the devices area. Sometimes it does, sometimes it does not. So yeah, now the local device I should have shown you before, but in the next two hypervisors where I'm going to show you that before there were just these two devices, CD-ROM and the local disk, right? Now there are three more devices, Iscsi devices, and they are 600 GB, right? Or 599. So that also shows that that's the only size we gave to the Iscsi disks, the 600 GB, right? So they're showing, and the local disk because it's 200 GB here. So these are Iscsi disks. So Initiator number one, Iscsi1, is now seeing Iscsi target because it's connected to the Iscsi target, so it's seeing over the network 3 disks here. We're going to do the same steps on the second hypervisor and the third hypervisor. So we need to connect to the second hypervisor now. And I'm going to open a next tab here to connect to the remotely to the second hypervisor and configure the initiator to get these 3 disks there as well. So I'm just going to go for the next tab here, go for ESXi02. Yeah, so there's 02 here already cached in the browser. And root and small ABC, capital ABC, shape 3. Next, login. So I'm inside remotely in Iscsi2 now. And now we know the drill. Go to storage. First, we go to adapters. Before that, let's just go to the devices. And you can see that right now, by default, they have just 2 devices here. And that are, one is CD-ROM, one is local disk, 200 GB, right? CD-ROM and SSD, local disk. Now we're going to go to the adapters and we're going to request 3 more. So we're going to go to Software's Iscsi. And then we're going to click Enable. And then we're going to go down to Add Dynamic Target. We're going to give correctly the IP address 192.168.200.10. So 192.168.200.10. Make sure it is correct. And port is obviously going to be 2260, save configuration. And then we do rescan, refresh, right? A couple of times, rescan, refresh, scan, refresh. Then we go back to the devices and we should have 3 more. And there you go. It's not there. Okay, rescan, refresh. Now they're there. So these are the same 3 disks that has been shared with, if I go here on Iscsi1, yep, same 3 disks shared with Iscsi1 are being shared with Iscsi2 as well. And same 3 disks will be shared with Iscsi3 or maybe Iscsi100 if you had 100 hypervisors. The same disks, then I've told you the benefits already, right? Okay. So we're going to go for the third tab, and let's remotely connect and do the drill. So there's Iscsi3 in the cache of the browser. This is loaded already. And then advanced, and then proceed to ESXi03. Small ABC, capital ABC, shape to 1 to 3 without a shape to 1 and 3. Okay, we go to storage, we go to first devices, and you can see the 2 local devices. Now we're going to add 3 more over the network. We're going to go to adapters and software, Iscsi, and Z. Enabled. Go down to a dynamic target 192.168.200.10. So 200.10. Save configuration. And then lots of rescan. It's still running here. Rescan all HPA. Running. It's complete now. We can rescan, refresh, rescan, refresh, rescan, refresh. There you go. Not there. Rescan, refresh. All right. So we got the 3 disks mapped over the network with Iscsi protocol. In production environment, it would have been over the Ethernet network, obviously slower than the fiber optic. So here Iscsi 1 has 3 disks, Iscsi 2 has 3 disks, and Iscsi 3 has 3 disks. Now, there still are some steps further. Deploying VCSA, make sure temporarily, let's put blah, blah, blah. If you have 32 GB RAM, blah, blah. Okay, I think I not put the steps to deploy, the Iscsi disks for the network. We added, yeah, so we added, it's already mentioned above there, 3 disks formatted with NTFS, converted to Iscsi disks, and connected to the 3 initiators, ESXi 01, 02, 03. So that's what we did. But in order for the VCSA machine to be able to use these 3 disks over the network, we need to create now data stores on these 3 disks over the network. Disks, but the terminology is LUNs. So these 3 disks over the network or LUNs. We need to create data stores because the virtual machine cannot be created on a raw disk. It has to be formatted with VMFS file system and partitioned as and a partition need to be created called data store. So we need to create data store on it, right? So LUN 1 we can follow some kind of naming convention here. So LUN 1 can have data store 1. So how do we do that? The naming convention. So first of all, it's W1. So it's coming from Windows machine, and it's going to be DS 1. Actually, LUN 0, LUN 1, 2. It starts with, if I go back there. Okay, data store 1 there, data store 2, data store 3. So the naming convention is DS1, LUN 1. And then obviously W1, because it's still coming from, for the second data store, I'm saying, it's still coming from Windows 1 machine, right? W1. So DS2, data store 2, on LUN 2, and W1 still coming, the source is still the Iscsi target, but now data store 3, LUN 3, right? Okay, so that would be that's the 3 data stores we need to create on top of them. So we have deployed the 3 disks. These were created here, and they have been mapped to the 3 hypervisors. On top of them, now we need to deploy the 3 disks, right? So 3 data stores. So these 3 data stores have to be deployed on top of them. And So the names, as we have mentioned here already, W1, DS111, right? That's DS1. DS111. And then this is going to be DS2 on 2, and this is going to be DS3 on 3. All right, so let's go ahead and deploy that. You know what? I'll take a screenshot of this because that's the whole operation we did today. Put it in this edit. Um, okay, let's get back to how do we do that. So we're on, let's go to Iscsi 1 here. Now, remember one thing, the same 3 disks are on Iscsi 1, same 3 disks are on Iscsi 2, and same 3 disks are on Iscsi 3. So if you create a data store on one disk here, or the first disk here, because it's the same disk attached to the other 2 hypervisors as well, so you have to create a data store on that. You have to format that disk and create a data store on top of that on any one of the hypervisors, and the other 2 will see that data store automatically. It's not like first you format here, then you go to the second hypervisor and format here, then you go to the third hypervisor and format here. If they were different disks attached to different hypervisors, yes, you would have done that. You had to do that, but it's the same exact disk, so you can connect either to these disks from Iscsi 1 or Iscsi 2 or Iscsi 3. Any one of those hypervisors you can connect to these disks and format them and create a data store on top of them. So you don't. So this means that if you connect from Iscsi 3 and create a data store on this, 2 and 1 will also see that data store automatically. You don't have to format the first disk from 2 and then from 1 as well. So from any one, because it's exactly the same disk connected to all 3. I hope you understand. So anyone, I'm just connected through 1, but you can connect from 2 and 3 and do the same exact thing which I'm doing from 1. So what do? We're on storage and we're going to click the new data store here. Right? I'm going to click new data store. And as per our naming convention, W1 DS111. So that's the data store we're creating on any one of the 3 ones, right? So, but we're giving a naming convention for the data stores at least. So once you've put that next, now it shows the 3 disks and only the 3 disks there. Because the local disk that is 200 GB, it already was formatted and a data store was created there. So that's why if the data store is already created there, it's not going to show up here now. So these are the 3 raw disks, and we can just select any one of those actually, but I'm just going to select the top one for no particular reason and click next. And then it says, hey, you want to use the whole of the disk for this data store. You want to use, so there's useful disk or custom, and in custom, you can, select here and then, oh, I want to use this much of this or this much of this or this much of this. And later I'm just going to expand that, right? So you can do that too. So I'm just going to switch to use full disk. So it should become useful then, right? Useful disk to make it useful. Okay. So use full disk and VMFS 6. Yeah, that's the latest one. VMware file system, and click next. That is it. And click finito. And so it's saying it's gonna format the whole disk, and we say yeah. All right. So yeah, successfully created. Good. So we're gonna go for, so let's go to the data stores here, right? We're on the devices. If you go to the data store, now we see here 2 data stores. One is a local disk-based data store, which is the local disk here, right? There was a data store one created here on the local disk. So that's that. But now we have the 3 disks here and the first LUN, 3 LUNs here, and the first LUN data store is now showing there. So this is that W1 DS111. We're gonna click new data store now again, and you know the drill. We have first data store. Next, now we only got 2 LUNs available, and we still need to stick to the naming convention. So W1 and then DS2, 1, 2, right? W1, DS2, 1, 2. And click next. Yes, we're gonna go for useful disk. This data store is gonna occupy the whole disk, and click finito. And yeah, format, go ahead and format that. So the second LUN, what we are expecting now is when we are done with the third LUN, that on Iscsi 2 and on Iscsi 3, these 3 LUNs should be already available. So you just have to format the disk from any one of the hypervisors, and others will just find it formatted after the format is done. Okay, let's go for the third data store on third LUN and finito it. So next. And we go for W1 DS3 LUN 3. And that's the only LUN available now. So click next. Useful disk. Next. Finito. And format. All right. All right. So now once this is done and the 3 data stores are created on 3 LUNs, and that's the professional environment of virtualization where data stores are LUN based, or data stores are based on disks that are shared over the network and not the local disks. So we're good. Now we're expecting these LUNs to appear automatically in the storage section of Iscsi 2 and Iscsi 3 as well, right? So I'm just going to click Iscsi 2. We're in the devices section. We're going to go to the data store section where they should be. Sometimes they don't show actually. And you just have to refresh, or ultimately you have to restart the hypervisor and then they show. But they will show. You don't have to really create anything, okay, at the data stores here. So it's not really showing here. So I'm just going to refresh on the browser level in Iscsi 2. So those 3 data stores should show automatically. If not, then ultimately for few, they have to restart the hypervisor, connect again, and then see. There you go. It's not showing. Okay. So you know what? Add adapters, rescan, refresh, rescan, refresh, rescan, refresh, right? And then go back to the store and then refresh the browser as well. And whenever there is written refresh on this page, just click that button. Refreshing the browser again, and there you go. Still not there. Okay, seriously. I'm gonna go for the third one, and I'll go to the data stores, and they don't show here as well. Refresh on the browser level, then refresh, rescan, then refresh on the browser level. If it doesn't show, just restart, because it's a matter of time. Scan, refresh, devices. So it is. Rescan, refresh. It's the same thing. And then refresh the browser. Nope. Then just let's restart the whole hypervisor 2 and hypervisor 3 if it doesn't show. Oh, Iscsi 3 actually shows all 3. And then Iscsi 2 should show as well. Not. Fresh. It's a matter of time, this means. Or not. Well, if the LUNs were showing, if I go to device here and rescan, refresh on the device level, right? Rescan, refresh, rescan, refresh. And then they showed up on mine. Okay, Susan says they showed up for all three, right? Okay, cool. Seriously, it's still not showing the crash again on the browser level. Okay, all three. Cool. That's good. Now they show. Yay. So I didn't have to restart. It's just a matter of time and also keep refreshing. So ESXi 1, 3 data stores on 3 LUNs. ESXi 2, 3 data stores on 3 LUNs, and same one, ESXi 3. So that would really complete that prerequisite for the VCSA. LUN 1 can have, oh, did I say LUN 1? It's hypervisor. Seriously? Okay, so I meant actually LUN 1 can have this. 1, 2 can have, and actually they were not showing there which one was LUN 1 and which one was LUN 2, 3, but yeah, this is how we can also do that. So that's like fulfilling the requirement and of or prerequisite of VCSA. But the thing is that VCSA is pretty long installation, and what we can do is we can just still prepare the environment. So in next class, we can actually, at the start of the class, we start deploying VCSA right then and there. So what else need to be prepared, or what other prerequisite need to be done is that we need to do the first point here, which is once the 12 GB RAM has been given to ESXi 1, then power it on. So what we're going to do is we're going to come back to that step which we were doing before. And that step is, if I go to the diagram and explain. Okay, so he says, sir, it isn't showing me those 3 disks in ESXi 2 and 3. All right. So some IP mistake could be there. But if it's no, sorry, was it showing? Oh, it's not showing even the LUNs. It's not. You haven't gone to the data store level yet, right? Even the LUNs are not showing there. So it could be that. Yeah.
No, sir. I created that W1DS 2 LUN 2 and 3.
Okay.
It's showing in the first system, but when I'm trying to refresh system 2 and 3, it's not showing yet. Like maybe,
But
as you said, it's a matter of time, but it's taking a lot of
yeah,
time. I mean.
yeah. But the 3 disks were showing on all 3, right? The shared disks were
Yes, yes,
showing there on
they
all
were
3.
showing. Yeah, yeah.
Okay, then you're good. Then it's still a matter of time. Or ultimately, you can just restart the 2 hypervisors and remotely connect and check it again.
All right, all right. Thank you, sir.
Wow. Okay. Okay. So, one day you need to really, if you don't mind, you can share on WhatsApp, the little prince or princesses picture as well. Like, that would be so good. Okay. So here,
Okay.
yeah, we will all be so happy to see that. And yeah, here, so guys, we're gonna just do one more preparation of or preparing for the prerequisites for the deployment of VCSA next class. And that one more thing would be just to go back to this. And what is that? That's it. Okay, let's put so in next class we're supposed to start only Win01 and ESXi01, right? And we're going to keep the 2 other machines shut down for the preparation of deployment of VCSA on this hypervisor alone. Now that we have the software SAN properly deployed, so this machine, what we can do extra now is that we're going to shut down, first of all three machines here. And we're going to only change the RAM of 12 GB and actually keep it shut down. We're about to shut down actually all four machines because we have to, we can't really deploy vCenter now, so no use doing anything here. But the last thing what we can do is actually shut down all four and change the RAM of E6i1 to 12 GB. That's it. In next class, we will only start Win01 with 2 GB RAM, and we're going to start this E6i1 only. These two machines we're going to start. We will not start E6i2 and 3 in next class. Once we start these two, so then we're going to deploy over the network. At the start of the class, we're going to start deploying over the network this machine, virtual machine here, Vcsa, and we're going to keep its disk on any one of the LUN-based depth stores, right? So the last thing to do now is just, well, pretty much shut down all four machines. So we're going to start suspending all the machines in next class. When we have VCSA, then you really need to suspend actually, because when you restart, it takes forever. But right now we have nothing here, so it's okay to shut down for this class. So we're going to shut down all four machines now, but we're going to make sure that we change the RAM to 12 GB only for E6i1. Next class, only this machine and only this machine we're going to start, right? So shut down all four machines, change the RAM of 12 E6i1 only to 12 GB. Right, so I'm just going to go back here and E6i3, shut down. We're pretty much turning on all machines, right? So shut down, E6i2, shut down, and shut down, and shut down, right? So all four machines are shutting down. So E6i1, just change the RAM of 12, this to 12 GB, and that's it. And then upload to week 7, which the folder I haven't created yet. Okay, so I'll create it this time. So I'm just changing the RAM, the last step here. Just make sure you do that. Otherwise, next class, I'll still remind you to do that in next class because it's so crucial. Well, 416, 12416 here, or you can just type it directly here. If you've done that, that's it. Then you upload the two screenshots to week 7. Okay, 12 GB here. That's it. The next class, Win01, E6i1 only starts, right? Well, that's it. So I'll just shut down my remote machine here, and I need to quickly, I need to put that. Yikes. Okay. Wow, where's the code? There is. Oh, it forgot to send me the code. Right. So another way for information. Verified. Let me send the code again. No. Text. Ah. Right. So I'll just quickly create the week 7. 07 July 2022, hidden plus students, save it. I hope you're able to see week 7 folder first of all, and then second thing is I'll click the create button to uh assignment. Yeah, assignment due date is well is today 7/7 by 11:59 p.m. actually. Students due date, last sessions, assignment, times out. Right, that's submission view. Save. No, positive. Are you kidding me? What did I do? Change date. It changes the date auto magically. 7 July. 7 p.m. Wow. Really sucks. 11:59. This is how many zeros forecast due work will be cleared. Whatever that meant. Okay. And visible to students. So guys, are you able to see this? And keep refreshing. So go ahead and upload week 7. Oh man, seriously? You have to refresh, I guess. Ugh, I really hate this software. Think you're not able to see this, right?
No, sir, can't see it.
It's not? We
No, no, no.
no? Okay. Yes, Gorikbal says we have to download VCSA from next. Yes, guys, I mean, I shared that link and I thought you have downloaded the VCSA, but download it before the next one. So I shared that way back. Please upload week 7. Maybe it needs to have a name or something. Okay, one attempt is 12 a.m. 8. That's next day, right? Okay. I was going today 11:59. It's 12 a.m. tomorrow, which is okay. 6. Save and visible. So guys, are you able to see this now? Choose to add content at end of assessment.
Yes, sir.
All right, thank you. Confirming, and that's cool. Stop the recording.